Air Products has got quite a varied contribution to hydrogen throughout many decades already. We've Our core areas of expertise are the production, storage, distribution of hydrogen in its various shapes or forms, whether it's through gaseous hydrogen down a pipeline or in a cylinder or in a liquid hydrogen form, in terms of the distribution thereof and the storage and the production. Let's start from the very beginning of the value chain. In terms of green hydrogen, you're talking about renewable energy. So whether it's wind, solar, hydro, or some other form of renewable energy that you would then use, well, one, generate the energy. Number two, you've got to be able to distribute or store, or both, the energy that you generate. Storage is quite important in the renewables because obviously the renewables aren't always available 24/7, and you want to produce hydrogen as on a continuous basis. So that does become a requirement to make sure that your value chain is smooth and uninterrupted. Then you've got to get to the production of the hydrogen itself. So that could happen anywhere, as long as you could get power to it. So grid infrastructure is absolutely crucial to enable that power to be distributed. And honestly, it's more cost effective to distribute electricity than it is to distribute hydrogen. But producing hydrogen is something you can do anywhere as long as you've got water and you've got electricity. So using existing grid infrastructure or rolling out grid infrastructure to where you need it, critical. And then once you produce the hydrogen, you've also got the storage of hydrogen, the distribution of hydrogen. You can also convert that hydrogen into derivatives, which are in essence a means of transporting the hydrogen in a cost-effective way. So that we usually be ammonia or methanol that could be used. Which mode of transport and distribution method you use depends where it's located and your scale, how big your production facilities and your users are. And then you've got your end user. So depending where that end user is and what that end use is, because they're varied users that need to develop for this value chain to essentially have a reason to exist. The primary reason of Air Products' interest in being involved in the conference in Namibia is the fact that Namibia is an ideal location for producing green hydrogen and green ammonia because of its natural resources, especially from solar power generation. So it's one of the locations in the world where it can be cost effectively produced. The other reason is Air Products has got technologies and know-how to contribute to components of the value chain, especially around hydrogen production, storage, distribution, and nitrogen production, which is required for the production of ammonia. Southern Africa can play a key role in the green ammonia, green hydrogen markets. However, one has to consider that the markets are quite distant from the Southern African region. The primary markets that have been identified at this stage are really Europe, Far East. And if you look at it from a global perspective, the region has a disadvantage in that we're further flung than many of the other regions that could almost equally compete. I'm talking North Africa, Middle East, Australia, maybe a lot closer to those markets that are developing in the near term. As long as demand hasn't really materialized to substantial levels, that we're going to be challenged with the ability to be competitive because of our distance away from the markets. So we really got to focus inwardly. There's a big emphasis on export, which is great. That demand will come, but it's going to take time. And so far, the development in that market has been a lot slower than people were hoping for and expecting. So it doesn't mean we should slow down. It does mean we should focus inwardly, where if we can create the local demand, local base load, it's going to be much easier then to expand as the global demand picks up. In terms of competitiveness, if you've already got a local infrastructure, a local supply chain, incrementally increasing that really leaves you in a fairly competitive position relative to perhaps projects that are dedicated to export.